Start focusing on your body from up to down. So start by relaxing your head and everything about it. The skull, eyebrows should relax. Your eye sockets all around the eyes. You shouldn't have to close your eyelids too firmly and just let them to go. Leave them open a little bit. Relax the area around your ears and your jaw. Then, most importantly, align the neck, head, back. Make sure it's straight and that there is no tension in there. Relax the upper back of your neck, so the muscles going down your shoulders. Let your arms fall naturally flat. Relax them as well, from up there down to the fingertips. Release any tension. Hands. And let's make sure our chest is soft and comfortable. Upper back relaxed as well. And then lower back. And the flanks and the belly. Release tensions in the leg. Both legs down. And then let's just bring the mind to the breath. We can start by breathing deeply 3 times, and then after that, just naturally. As you get into meditation, you just recall a good moment this week, one that can bring a smile to your face. And if there's no good moment this week, just bring a smile anyway. Try and physically smile. Get deeper in your meditation, just a slight smile. And try and hold it as you focus on the breath. Feel how a simple smile can transform your entire experience. Stay on the breath, stay with the experience. If the mind wanders away, just bring it back to this patiently, softly, time and time again until the bell rings again. fades away. And also try and keep up that smile until our bell rings again. All right. Hope you guys should relax. How did it feel to put a smile on while you were doing your breathing exercise?
Felt great.
There is a muscle memory there that I guess that's a behaviorism, right? So if you change your mind, it might change the sensation in your body. But if you change your body, it might change the sensation in your mind as well. Works both ways. So if you go and hook a smile on your face, there's a good chance that a feel-good state will follow. So you have that tool as well on the question if you didn't know, to change your state of mind, change your physical state. It's mind over matter and matter over mind, really. Use that wisely. Who's ready to read today?
I will, if no one else will.
All right. I think Julia's probably ready as well, but yeah, sure.
She can do it also if she wants.
Okay, let's switch to Julia today, just for diversity. Humor.
No problem.
I think it's an interesting read today. If you have the book handy, you should probably reread that slowly and take some notes because there are a few frameworks there, to not get in trouble in life, as Julia will soon demonstrate.
Chapter 2. Practical Guide to the True Way of Living. 1. Family Life. 1. It is wrong to think that misfortunes come from the east or from the west. They originate within one's own mind. Therefore, it is foolish to guard against misfortunes from the external world and leave the inner mind uncontrolled. There is a custom that has come down from ancient times that common people still follow. When they get up in the morning, they first wash their face and rinse their mouth, and then they bow in the 6 directions, to the east, west, south, north, above and below, wishing that no misfortune may come to them from any direction, and that they may have a peaceful day. But it is different in the Buddha's teaching. Buddha teaches that we are to pay respect to the 6 directions of truth, and then that we are to behave wisely and virtuously and thus prevent all misfortunes. To guard the gates in these 6 directions, people are to remove the defilement of the 4 deeds, control the 4 evil minds, and plug the 6 holes, which cause the loss of wealth. By the 4 deeds, it is meant killing, stealing, committing adultery, and falsehood. The 4 evil minds are greed, anger, foolishness, and fear. The 6 holes which cause the loss of wealth are desire for intoxicating drinks and behaving foolishly, staying up late at night and losing the mind in frivolity, indulging in musical and theater entertainments, gambling, associating with evil companions, and neglecting one's duties. After removing these 4 defilements, avoiding these 4 evil states of mind, and plugging these 6 holes of waste, the disciples of Buddha do reverence to the 6 directions of truth. Now, what are these 6 directions of truth? They are east for the way of parent and child, south for the way of teacher and pupil, west for the way of husband and wife, north for the way of a man and his friend, below for the way of master and servant, and above for the way of the disciples of Buddha. A child should honor his parents and do for them all that he is supposed to do. He should serve them, help them at their labor, cherish the family lineage, protect the family property, and hold memorial services after they have passed away. The parents should do 5 things for their children: avoid doing evil, set an example of good deeds, give them an education, arrange for their marriage, and let them inherit the family wealth at a proper time. If the parents and child follow these rules, the family will always live in peace. A pupil should always rise when his teacher enters. Wait upon him. Follow his instructions well, not neglect an offering for him, and listen respectfully to his teaching. At the same time, a teacher should act rightly before a pupil and set a good example for him. He should correctly pass on to him the teaching he has learned. He should use good methods and try to prepare the pupil for honors. And he should not forget to protect the pupil from evil in every possible way. If a teacher and his pupil observe these rules, their association will move smoothly. A husband should treat his wife with respect, courtesy, and fidelity. He should leave the housekeeping to her and sometimes provide for her needs, such as accessories. At the same time, a wife should take pains with the housekeeping, manage the servants wisely, maintain her virtue as a good wife should. She should not waste her husband's income and should manage the house properly and faithfully. If these rules are followed, a happy home will be maintained and there will arise no quarreling. The rules of friendship mean there should be mutual sympathy between friends, each supplying what the other lacks and trying to benefit the other, always using friendly and sincere words. One should keep his friend from falling into evil ways, should protect his property and wealth, and should help him in his troubles. If his friend has some misfortune, he should give him a helping hand, even supporting his family if necessary. In this way, their friendship will be maintained and they will be increasingly happy together. A master, in his dealings with a servant, should observe 5 things. He should assign work that is suitable for the servant's abilities, give him proper compensation, care for him when he is in ill health, share pleasant things with him, and give him needed rest. A servant should observe 5 things. He should get up in the morning before his master and go to bed after him. Should always be honest. Take pains to do his work well and try not to bring discredit to his master's name. If these rules are observed, there will be peace and no controversy between master and servant. A disciple of Buddha should see to it that his family observes the teachings of Buddha. They should cherish respect and consideration for their Buddhist teacher. Should treat him with courtesy, attend and observe the instructions, and always have an offering for him. Then, the teacher of Buddha's teaching should rightly understand the teachings, rejecting wrong interpretations, emphasizing the good, and should seek to lead believers along a smooth path. When a family follows this course, keeping the true teaching as its center, it will thrive happily. A man who bows in the 6 directions does not do so in order to escape from external misfortunes. He does it in order to be on his guard to prevent evils from arising within his own mind. 2. A man should recognize among his acquaintances those with whom he should associate and those with whom he should not. The ones with whom a man should not associate are those who are greedy, clever talkers, flatterers, or wasters. The ones with whom he should associate are those who are helpful, who are willing to share happiness as well as sufferings, who give good advice, and who have a sympathetic heart. A true friend, the one with whom a man may safely associate, will always stick closely to the right way, will worry secretly about his friend's welfare, will console him in his misfortune, will offer him a helping hand when he needs it, will keep his secrets, and will always give him good advice. It is very difficult to find a friend like this, and therefore one should try very hard to be a friend like this. As the sun warms the fruitful earth, so a good friend shines in society because of his good deeds. 3. It would be impossible for a son to repay his parents for their gracious kindness, even if he should carry the father on his right shoulder and his mother on his left for 100 long years. And even if he could bathe the bodies of his parents in sweet-smelling ointments for 100 years, serve as an ideal son, gain a throne for them, and give them all the luxuries of the world, still he would not be able to repay them sufficiently for the great indebtedness of gratitude he owes to them. But if he leads his parents to Buddha and explains the Buddha's teachings to them and persuades them to give up a wrong course and follow a right one, leading them to give up all greed and enjoy the practice of offering, then he will be more than repaying them. Buddha's blessing abides in the home where parents are held in respect and esteem. A family is a place where minds come in contact with one another. If these minds love one another, the home will be as beautiful as a flower garden. But if these minds get out of harmony with one another, it is like a storm that plays havoc with the garden. If discord arises within one's family, one should not blame others but should examine one's own mind and follow a right path. 5. Once there was a man of deep faith. His father died when he was young. He lived happily with his mother, and then he took a wife. At first, they lived happily together, and then, because of a small misunderstanding, the wife and her mother-in-law came to dislike each other. This dislike grew until finally the mother left the young couple to live by herself. After the mother-in-law left, a son was born to the young couple. A rumor reached the mother-in-law that the young wife had said, "My mother-in-law was always annoying me, and as long as she lived with us, nothing pleasant ever happened. But as soon as she went, we had this happy event." This rumor angered the mother-in-law, who exclaimed, "If the husband's mother is chased away from the house and a happy event takes place, then things have come to a pretty pass. Righteousness must have disappeared from the world." Then the mother shouted, "Now we must have a funeral of this righteousness." Like a mad woman, she went to the cemetery to hold a funeral service. A god, hearing of this incident, appeared in front of the woman and tried to reason with her, but in vain. The god then said to her, "If so, I must burn the child and his mother to death. Will that satisfy you?" Hearing this, the mother-in-law realized her mistake, apologized for her anger, and begged the god to save the lives of the child and his mother. At the same time, the young wife and her husband realized their injustice to the old woman and went to the cemetery to seek her. The god reconciled them, and thereafter they lived together as a happy family. Righteousness is never lost forever unless one casts it away oneself. Righteousness occasionally may seem to disappear, but in fact, it never disappears. When it seems to be disappearing, it is because one is losing the righteousness of one's own mind. Discordant minds often bring disaster. A trifling misunderstanding may be followed by great misfortune. This is especially to be guarded against in family life. 6. In family life, the question as to how the daily expenses are to be met always requires the utmost care. Every member must work hard, like the diligent ants and the busy bees. No one must rely upon the industry of others or expect their charity. On the other hand, a man must not consider what he has earned as totally his own. Some of it must be shared with others. Some of it must be saved for an emergency. Some of it must be set aside for the needs of the community and the nation. And some of it must be devoted to the needs of the religious teachers. One should always remember that nothing in the world can strictly be called mine. What comes to a person comes to him because of a combination of causes and conditions. It can be kept by him only temporarily, and therefore, he must not use it selfishly or for unworthy purposes. When Sevamati, the queen consort of King Udayana, offered Ananda 500 garments, Ananda received them with great satisfaction. The king, hearing of it, suspected Ananda of dishonesty. So he went to Ananda and asked what he was going to do with these 500 garments. Ananda replied, "O king, many of the brothers are in rags. I am going to distribute the garments among the brothers." "What will you do with the old garments?" "We will make bed covers out of them." "What will you do with the old bed covers?" "We will make pillowcases." "What will you do with the old pillowcases?" "We will make floor covers out of them." "What will you do with the old floor covers?" "We will use them for foot towels." "What will you do with the old foot towels?" "We will use them for floor mops." "What will you do with the old mops?" "Your Highness, we will tear them into pieces, mix them with mud, and use the mud to plaster the house walls." Every article entrusted to us must be used with good care in some useful way, because it is not ours, but it is only entrusted to us temporarily. That's the first part.
I have more.
The life of women?
Okay, maybe your edition differs a little bit, so I'll finish the reading there. Thank you.
As you wish.
Well, it's just 8 and 9 there. So, the relation of husband and wife was not designed merely for their convenience. It has a deeper significance than the mere association of two physical bodies in one house. Husband and wife should take advantage of the intimacies of their association to help each other in training their minds in the holy teaching. Oh, great. Just lost the page myself. A second.
222.
22, eh?
It is farther ahead in the version I have. It talks about the life of women, and after 2 pages, it starts with the relation of husband and wife.
Yeah, in my edition, they removed the sexist stuff that you were reading earlier about housekeeping and everything. But it's good to know that at some point people would all enjoy that. Just teasing. All right. The Buddha, okay, holy teaching. There you go. An old couple, an ideal couple, as they were called, once came to Buddha and said, "Lord, we were married after we had been acquainted in childhood, and there has never been a cloud in our heads. Please tell us if we can be remarried in the next life." The Buddha gave them this wise answer. If you both have exactly the same faith, if you both receive the teaching in exactly the same way, if you perform charity in the same way, and if you have the same wisdom, then you will have the same mind in the next birth. There are no distinctions of sex on the path to enlightenment. If a woman makes up her mind to seek enlightenment, she will become a heroine of the true path. Malika, the daughter of King Prasenachit and the queen of King Ayodhya, was such a heroine. She had great faith in the teaching of the Blessed One and made in his presence the 10 following vows. My Lord, until I gain enlightenment, I will not violate the sacred precepts. I will not be arrogant before people who are older than myself. I will not become angry with anyone. I will not be jealous of others or envy their possessions. I will not be selfish, either in mind or property. I will try to make poor people happy with the things I receive and will not hoard them for myself. I receive all people courteously, give them what they need, and speak kindly to them. Consider their circumstances and not my convenience, and try to benefit them without partiality. If I see others in solitude, prison, or suffering from disease or other troubles, I will try to relieve them and make them happy by explaining the reasons and laws to them. If I see others catching living animals and being cruel to them or violating any such precept, I will punish them if they are to be punished, or teach them if they are to be taught, and then I will try to undo what they have done and correct mistakes to the best of my ability. I will not forget to hear the right teaching, for I know that when one neglects the right teaching, one quickly falls away from the truth that abides everywhere, and will fail to reach the shore of enlightenment. Then she made the following 3 wishes to save poor people. First, I will try to make everyone peaceful. This wish, I believe, in whatever life I may hereafter receive, will be the root of goodness that will grow into their wisdom of good teaching. Second, after I have received the wisdom of good teaching, I will untiringly teach all people. Third, I will protect the true teaching, even at the sacrifice of my own body, life, or property. The true significance of family life is the opportunity it gives for mutual encouragement and aid on the path of enlightenment. If a woman has the same mind to seek enlightenment and makes the same vows and wishes, she may become as great as a disciple as Buddha. I'm sorry, of Buddha as Maliba was. All right, that's our reading for today. It was a lot of stuff in there. So first of all, was there a part that's got your attention more than any other? Spoke to you? Not really?
Well,
Okay.
maybe the part about, when they were gifted those things, that they were basically reusing all the old ones instead of throwing them away. I mean, I think it was said before that when sometimes they receive certain things, that they never throw things away, but just reuse them or find different purposes for them. I mean, it's kind of interesting because we're a bit of a culture that throws a lot of stuff away that might be reused in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. We as a society are living, most of us probably, very far from that culture. It always strikes me when I go with Julia to Ecuador, how much more they recycle over there. In fact, they have people that are professional recyclers, and they entire families of like 10 people step into garbage piles and start sorting the stuff, and they take all the cardboard, for example, and build those big pallets that they carry on their back. They move from place to places like this. Here in Canada, we have those blue container that we put in front, and it's all sort of automatically done by machines, and a lot of it ends up in landfills anyway. In Ecuador, they have those people that they call the recyclers, are living very, very humble life. But also, they repurpose tires. They keep their refrigerator like 40 years. It seems like nothing is ever broken, even there. Even stuff that is considered beyond repair here, over there they take the time to salvage. So it's a beautiful example. And that's why I guess the followers of the Buddha back then were encouraged to only wear rags. It sort of gave a second life to items that were discarded by others. And if you think about it, ain't that like the true meaning of reincarnation? We're talking about physical reincarnation, the chance to have a new existence in a slightly different form. So when you're recycling, you are contributing to the circle of life, definitely. My favorite part was in the very beginning. They were, talking about the 6 directions of truth, because I think that these remain very actual and still very problematic. Next.
Okay. So does the 6 directions also correlate to the 6 worlds?
No, not necessarily. It's just another. The Buddhists are pretty much on the oral tradition, so they would use those numbered list system everywhere to make it easier to remember. It's like the Eightfold Path, If you try to remember it, you can count and say, "Oh, I only remember 6. What are the 2 other ones?" So they like those numbered frameworks quite a lot. 6 direction. I'm giving a very bad example of this because I don't know these by heart, and I'm having trouble finding them. It was at the very beginning.
It's not really hard. It's just east, west, south, and north with the compass, and then you have above and below.
Yeah, so it was the one that says you have your family life, you have your teacher's relationship, you have the one where you need to serve your master, So that's what they were relating those directions
Yeah.
to. But
Yeah. They
and the
also
reason
talk
anyway I
about
wanted to,
servants.
yes, so that's work basically, right? When you're working for somebody, you are the servant and they are the master. It's just that in this medieval system, it was mostly like master apprentice.
Yeah.
The way it worked, there were no real school or occupational training available. It was always sort of a master apprentice, or sort of the poor serving the rich as well. And I guess that's why they formulated it like that. But the reason I was bringing that up is that when you look in the different areas of your life, when we're talking about like work-life balance, or when we're talking about balance in general in life, what are we really trying to reconcile? Oftentimes it's family, that's one, work, and they occupy a lot of our hours. Some people have huge social lives as well, so friends, and hobbies or passions. Then there is the sort of the money side of things. There is our relation with authority, our gratefulness to the families that gave birth to us, and our relation with them. And so my question to you today is, which one do you find the most challenging? Where is it most difficult for you, like, not to suffer? Where do you lose your bliss the most in any area of your life?
I'd say family. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to point out about family, and I did not mention that in a long, long while, that most of the violence that happens to people in life happens in their family. Much more so than war, much more so than gang conflicts, much more so than the red light district in your neighborhood. If you stop and think about the people who hurt you in your life and traumatized you, and you know caused problems that you struggled with for a long time, they're usually people that are extremely close to you. And it's not that they're evil, it's just the fact that you're sort of all tied for the better and the worse. But this observation I find useful in order not to repeat that, to become conscious that family that we sort of associate with the nest and our comfort zone where things should be harmonious is actually the most violent place on earth. Who yells at you, who threw something at you once, who it's pretty much always family, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in the movie. Most traumatic events happens in childhood, and then when you're a teenager, you go the wrong way.
Yeah, because you have some unresolved things.
Yeah.
I think by the way, that's another thing that's interesting, is that teenage years are a modern invention. Before, when you were 12, you started to work. There was no time to be a teenager. You know, right now, the way we treat our kids, I feel like we are sheltering them completely from the world. We're giving them playtime like all day long while they're very young, and we don't we don't even grade them anymore. So we're sort of keeping them in a utopia where nothing can hurt them and everything is pink and everything is fantastic and they're the best and they can become president of the United States or an astronaut or whatever. And then when they become teenagers, to realize that this is not the way of life at all. This was all. It's basically they sort of wake up to the fact that they've been living a lie all this time. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden they develop this very dark vision of the world. Like, oh my God, am I here to pay bills? And do I need to obey that stupid guy that's supposed to be my boss? And, why do I have to defer to people that hate my guts and so on? So they go from one realization to another that the world is a painful place and they have not learned to deal with pain at all.
Yeah.
So and you know,
Yeah.
and oftentimes, you know, they're not even allowed to watch certain movies or read certain books, or so
Yeah.
unless you come from a country where there was some major events happening, or where the culture is much tougher. Now as kids you don't get exposed to much. And you know, it might be why so many people suffer from asthma as well, and so many people have allergies now, and why we are gluten intolerant, and
So much stress.
probably, yeah,
I
and
I
then
also
probably we were not fed enough dirt, you know.
I also suddenly realized when you are a child, the difference between a child and a teenager going to adult, like those darker times that you feel lied to, is in the beginning when you ask a child what do you want to become, they don't say, oh, you know, I want to be an astronaut because it pays well, or working for NASA is going to give me a fortune. That's something you develop later as a child. You say, I want to become an astronaut because I want to go to space, or I want to be a fireman because I want to save people. So as a child, your intentions are more pure, like you want to do stuff for other people. Then, as a teenager and as an adult, that you see you have to pay bills, you have to do this and that, and all these annoying things, suddenly, like, I want to do this to help someone else, becomes I want to do this because I need the money to pay my fucking place, you know? So, it's like the
Yeah,
pure
and in
intention.
some case,
Yep.
many cases, sadly, I want the money to buy my drugs or my
Yeah,
alcohol or the whatever that's gonna make me feel good once again.
Yeah.
the pure intention that people actually wanted to do stuff for other people disappears as we're growing older. And I think we might have to look at the way things are now might be potentially wrong, or not really working that well. I'm not saying bring back child labor or something, but I do think because one thing that I sometimes think when I see at third world countries is that the children are at a far younger stage, or even sometimes when I look at Carl, the things that he can do, that I'm like, whoa, at your age I couldn't do jack shit of all that, and he's like a technical whiz sometimes compared to me, and I'm like, Jesus, we are like babysitted until we're like almost adult age, and then we're like thrown in front of the lions. Maybe we should find like a middle ground, you know? Because it's obvious we are getting pampered for way too long.
And it's easy also, you know, to say the things that I am saying, that maybe we're shielding our kids a little too much, but at the same time, there was also an era where we were just kicking them in the butt, you know, and we probably don't want to go back to that either. So for me, it's about exposure to the real world and being those flexible parents that can teach the child to be flexible. Um, I told a friend not long ago this fable that I tell very badly in English because it's a poetic fable in French, but there was once a blade of grass talking with an oak tree, right? And the oak tree was making fun of the blade of grass because he was saying, you know, when you bend with whatever breeze comes our way, you just bend and kiss the ground, and don't you have any dignity, a little blade of grass, to be bending all the time like that? And the blade of grass humbly didn't answer anything. And then one day came a storm, a big storm, a tornado. And what happened to the oak tree is that it was broken in two because it had no flexibility at all. While the little blade of grass did what it always did and just kissed the ground and resumed its original position afterwards. And pretty much had no injury at all. So we need to, unfortunately, we have been teaching everybody around us to be like oak trees. We talk about pride and about strength and about righteousness and there is a lot of Puritanism in America, probably in some parts of Europe as well. And that's no virtue to look like an oak tree and to be so very inflexible like that. If we just taught our kids to, okay, you can be exposed to whatever it is in life, but here's how you can recover. Here's how to deal with your emotion. Here's how you can recover physically as well. Because that's another thing that we don't allow ourselves, right? People work themselves into burnouts because they don't know how to take a weekend off or take a few hours off, or simply they're not dealing well psychologically with the work if they're just on a regular schedule. They're not overexerting themselves. So these are all very important life skills that we need for ourselves. And the minute that we have them, it is our responsibility to take that to the next generation and to the people that we know. You cannot have and develop those wonderful abilities and keep them for yourself, right? I think there is some of that in the Bodhisattva path of Buddhism, and they were making quite a few points today in the lecture that when something is given to you, you should share it back. Hey, sorry, Shrek, I thought you were just moving, but I think you have your hands up, or you want to say
Oh yeah,
something?
yeah. I
Okay.
just the metaphor of the grass and the tree. I think I'm definitely one of the tree types, and I've been needing to be more flexible as things change. And what I'm struggling with now is a severe inability to be flexible with change. And what you're saying is something I've definitely experienced.
Well, I like that it sort of follows up on the conversation we had last time where we spoke about surrender. So, what I think the oak tree needs to do is the oak tree needs to accept the hurt. It needs to accept the bend, right? But he thinks it's going to be painful to bend because he's stuck in that crust, right? And that crust might probably crack, and there will be some aspects of the oak tree that will never be the same the minute he starts bending. But then maybe he's going to have access to a better life as well. So that's the thing, is we need sort of the courage to show up to pain, not to linger in pain, not to linger in suffering and turn our lives into a melodrama. But it's like going to the dentist, right? Or any place that you don't like. It's just you have to reach in to that courage of showing up and going to the dentist and living to a moment of discomfort. And that is how, once you've survived the dentist, that is how the next time you're a little bit less fearful of it, and you know that it's going to be better. So look at, maybe take whatever your main problem is right now. Maybe try to grab a sheet of paper and a pencil and split it into smaller parts and see what is acceptable to you, or try to explore, because that's rooted in fear probably, right? So try to explore what is the fear of hurt that is preventing you from surrendering at this point, and slowly get acquainted with it. A very good meditation practice for this is just, once you have identified it sort of through a vipassana or just a reasoning exercise, conjure the emotion and go sit with it on the cushion. And instead of keeping the mind on the breath, just keep the mind on the feeling. Try to grow it, shrink it, dive into it, swim with it, whatever. And it will either dissolve and the fear will be gone, or it will make you burst into tears because you will find a knot and it will untie, or you will maybe slowly learn to live with it also. Chogyam Trungpa used to say that to be enlightened is to walk the earth with a broken heart and a will to help. And I think that is a beautiful, really beautiful image when we are in touch, when we do consciously a gesture of surrender like that. It sparks amazing compassion in us because all of a sudden it makes you, how could I say that? Febrile. Anybody has a translation for that, Julia Rico?
Sorry, what?
Fleur de peau. A fleur de peau or fébrile.
Fleur de peau.
Ah, a flor de piel es la même chose en español.
Yeah, sí, sí.
Sorry, so we're not finding the English translation, but basically you feel very vulnerable, right? When you are in touch with your own pain, you start to feel vulnerable, and it makes you understand the vulnerability surrounds you. Then all of a sudden you know, maybe before in your life you were strong and you look at people that were crying or had no resistance and you sort of judge them in the back of your mind thinking, oh, that's nothing. Like, I have lived much worse, or I could go through that with my eyes closed. But you can't do that when you're in a position of vulnerability. You have to relate to those people and their challenges. And that brings tremendous unity. It brings humanity together, actually. It's a bit sad that we connect through pain, but we do. And beyond that, the surprise of that is that as you reconnect with a whole range of emotion, you start reconnecting with others through joy as well. Because one thing that happens in Buddhism that you discover after certainly weeks, but most often years of practice, is that the only thing standing between you and joy is yourself, is your belief and your bad habits and your fears and the things that make you angry. So joy is not something that you do. Joy is something that is naturally present when all the crap that you're doing to yourself goes away. Does that make sense?
I was
I'm not sure about the last part. You mean joy is when? Can you repeat that last part?
So think of pride, for example, or defense mechanisms as clouds in the sky. They are things let's say your vulnerability is the sun, right? Well, you were so afraid that the sun would get hurt or that somebody would turn off the sun that you started covering it up with layers of stuff, layers of clouds. And so as we grow up, we put more and more of these clouds. But the sky is still behind and the sun is still behind. Right? It's just that now when you look at it, you don't see it anymore. All you can see is clouds. And so as you work with your practice, get rid of some pride, get rid of some fear, get rid of some anger, and you are not generating new clouds anymore because you don't feel the need to defend anymore. Then slowly the sun reveals itself again, and so you see, by working with pain and your suffering, what you are actually doing is that you're slowly revealing the joyful part of you. And at some point, it will become so visible and so strong that it will overcome anything, any traces of sadness in the sky. The light will dominate and the clouds will be a minor factor. So I know it's quite a metaphor, but does it work for you, Shrek?
I think maybe fear I don't have pride, and I'm definitely a very vulnerable person. I don't put a lot of, well, maybe blocks for myself, not so much blocks to block from other people, but yeah.
You say you're vulnerable, but do you call being fearful being vulnerable, or do you call being vulnerable?
I would call being open with other people. about how I feel vulnerable, maybe, but maybe you're talking about a different kind of vulnerability.
Well, what I'm saying is that to be genuinely vulnerable, you must accept the pain. If you expose yourself but then run away in fear when there's a threat, or go and build an army when there's a threat,
I see.
then you're not really completely vulnerable.
I see.
A good part of it is fear.
And then you get agoraphobia like I do, and then never go outside anymore because everything scares you.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying.
Pretty much what I have.
Oh yeah, hey, same here.
I found a translation for a fleur de piel, a fleur de peau. C'était very raw emotion or feelings running high, emotions running high, or very raw.
I think that works. Feelings running high. Yeah. So in French, what it means is that your feelings are like skin deep. Like if I touch you on the arm, you would explode because that's where your feelings are right now. Or like you're creating sort of a bubble of emotion around you. It's the other day we were cruising in the car and I was looking, just observing the people in the touristic area. Everybody was walking. I could see their bubble. It was amazing. I could see the old man looking down in the street, being preoccupied with something. I could see the lovers holding their hands, sharing a bubble as well, and the world was cut beyond that. You could see the stress. You could see the not much joy though. You know, if you want to know if somebody's doing good emotionally, that was my epiphany that day. You will notice that they simply look back at you, or they look around. If they're not doing good emotionally, they look at the ground, they look at their watch, they look somewhere, always in a very small horizon, a very small concentrated point. But those that have no emotional worries, they remain open. They keep their horizon wide and they look straight in front of them. So that's a good way to spot an enlightened master, you know, or to know if it's a good time to have a conversation with somebody. You can detect their openness and their demeanor like that. And there's a bit sort of a vulnerability as well. If I'm all caught up in my mind and I'm looking at the street as I walk and I'm pondering, I am not really there with anybody. And I might bite if you come and touch me while I'm in that state. While the other person that has their horizon open, they're taking everything in. They're receiving all the information and all the colors and all of the sounds, and they're ready to engage in a dance, in a genuine exchange. So I think that's also part of it, of practical meditation. What we're discussing right now, in a way, is living meditation. It's day-to-day meditation. It's practical living.
Kind of reminds me. What you were saying about, you know, that they are like concentrated to one thing, like and abstracted. It even goes further than that. You have people. I know this especially when I went out with my friends and we went to the pub after a week, and they were like, "Hey, let's go out. Let's go towards the Irish pub." And we would all go in a group. We would sit at a table. We would all think we were going to relax, so we order our stuff. And then immediately they take their smartphone and start swiping on Facebook and Twitter, and I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? It's like, it's like they can't be in the moment anymore. Whether it's clouds, whether it's they are completely invested in something. And you can see that even if you, for example, what you said, that you can see the bubbles and about finding joy that's already there. When you walk outside and you can see two kinds of people sometimes walking. People that look around and look at the sun, look at the clouds, look at the surroundings around them. And then you have people that just look straight ahead towards the ground because the only thing that's in their mind is some kind of list that they want to do before they go return. So they both see the same world, they both have the same world, but the one is clouded behind things and the other one is more free in a way.
Right, and one of them is more aggressive, isn't it, as well? Like,
Oh yeah.
because you're acting from a place of self-interest and ego when you're on a mission. And it's so true that I was once given the advice when traveling that, you know, if, for example, you go to Colombia in Colombia in a district where it's dangerous that you'll be attacked, an advice that you could get is look as if you know where you're going. You know, don't stop to mess around, just go on a mission. So even thieves or people that would attack you know better than to attack a man on a mission. Right? Because it's like instinctive. The guy that walks fast, knows exactly where he's going and what he's doing. You don't mess with that guy. But the person that is sort of open and lost and vulnerable and everything, well, the thieves will pick that victim. So there's a trade-off there, yeah. But there's the fearful victim, and there is the all-accepting victim, and there are nuance there. But I just wanted to make the point that when you are acting from a selfish place, it's very subtle, but it's threatening. When you go from point A to point B with that attitude, while the other is absolutely non-threatening. Shoyam Trungpa did not write this book because it was published after he was dead, but they did release a bunch of his teachings and called this book Work, Sex, and Money. And the idea was to use Tibetan Buddhist teachings and the teachings of Shambhala for how to use them in the 21st century. And as I mentioned last time, Trungpa was criticized a lot for a lot of what he has done, but what he was really onto, he was trying to merge Buddhism with modern American life back then. And so he had simplified the path, removed most of the rituals, and created this thing called the Shambhala Warrior. And the Shambhala Warrior was a strong Buddhist practitioner. It was not a monk. It was somebody who was vulnerable, courageous, compassionate, but also had a day job, also had a family to take care of. And so, sort of the vow of Shambhala, I will exaggerate a little bit there, but it's sort of like, you may pierce my skin, you may hurt me in any ways that you want. I am sort of strong and well established in my practice, and I will rise up again from my ashes time and time again. It doesn't matter what you do to me, work will get done, family will be taken care of, and I will be back to my teaching. And that's the reason I became a Shambhala student. I thought, wow, this is really what we need. You know, I cannot afford, coming from a humble family myself, I cannot afford to stop the work and taking care of my business and everything. If I do, then, you know, members of my family will have to change their life quite a bit. And so at the same time, I didn't want to be miserable and have all kinds of health problems or get into burnouts, or because I was starting to develop all kinds of stress-related ailments as an entrepreneur in the beginning of my career. So Shambhala, that allowed me to deal with my stress, to take some time for me and to recover, was truly a revelation. And also, I was more scientifically inclined. And what Trungpa is that he created the Naropa University and worked with psychologists. He famously said many times that the way of Buddhism in the West was psychology. And so he would make a point to meet with scientists and psychologists on a weekly basis and write hundreds of articles. It's amazing the quantity of books that he when I go to Gampo Abbey on a retreat, just the books that he published with Naropa University must be 100. And this is all I remain. That is all I need to read still about Chogyam Trungpa. So in there, he's featured with other prominent scientific authors. So anyway, I'm not trying to do publicity for this particular lineage. For me, it turned out to be an incredible toolkit that I guess sort of saved my life in a way, or at least allowed me to have a much more harmonious existence while pursuing my dreams and my goal. So yep. Casper, I think you're a little bit farther from your microphone than usual.
I can hear you all right. It might be the distance thing with VR chat that
carry
VR
on.
chat does.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so carry on. I can hear anyway. I was just having a little bit trouble making up the words. Well, that's precisely what got Trungpa into trouble, you know? He drank, he did drug, he had sex, and he practiced with all of that, and he wrote books on all of that. But that got him in trouble because the innocent monk from Tibet was not that good at dealing with all that stuff in the beginning, right? So he probably drank a little too much, did a little too many drugs, and had probably a little bit too much sex. And if you mix the three, stuff happens, right? So there were, let's say, good and bad moments in there, but it was also the 70s, and pretty much everybody was into that. And that's what he was trying to embrace, I'd say. He was trying to get into the culture and see how he could blend the ancient teachings. It's just that he got stuck himself, you know, even though he was a Rinpoche and a very high Lama, a very smart Lama. It just goes to show that they're just human, right? And we are all human. Yes, Julia?
I don't remember where I got this from, but I think that after the long retreats in caves, monks were supposed to go into the world as mendicants, and that's where they would apply all their knowledge of themselves and all the equanimity they had reached in the cave in the real world. And
Look up the movie Wandering But Not Lost, guys. It's precisely that. Guys goes on a 3 years retreat and then becomes a mendicant for like three years all across India and Tibet. And that's our favorite monk, Mingyur Rinpoche, that a lot of you have posted about in the channel. So yeah. So Wandering But Not Lost. Well, actually, I have bought the movie. I wonder if I could stream it. Maybe we could watch that together next time. Would you guys like that?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Totally.
All right. So he's 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 one of the only authentic masters that I would recognize right now. Honestly, there unfortunately it's sort of spiritual Disneyland out there right now. Everybody's like, for example, Sadhguru. You guys probably heard of Sadhguru. He wrote some book like Inner Engineering, and I wouldn't say it's bad. Okay, it's traditional yoga teachings. What I dislike is that the guy is building $1 billion empire around it. It's a bit like Deepak Chopra that is on Oprah, and he's good, but he's not like a fully enlightened master that went through these experiences like Minger did, and so they're a little bit rougher in terms of masters. Minger, however, you can see that there is depth to the realization. He has not only studied a lot, he has lived a lot, and you see that through the movie. So if you want to get a sense of what a real Buddhist master is, I think that this is a very good movie to watch together. And you'll see, he's happy. He makes jokes, and he's funny when he teaches, and he's not impressed by anything, and he's not thinking that he's somebody else, So, he's a teacher I love very much. Sorry, I cut you mid-sentence, Julia.
That was it.
All right.
Exactly right time.
All right, so let's. I've been talking in very general terms, but I feel like family is a big one. Let's try and talk about 3 topics before we finish this. Okay. One is family. Another one is living together as a couple, so love life. And the other one is work. Let's try to be. These are big topics, so we could be all day talking about that, but let's try and be efficient about it. So family, how are we being challenged by family? Not what they did to us in the past, that's gone, but what would prevent us to honor our fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters now?
Time. Making time for them.
Okay,
Resentment.
so not spending enough time with them. Rico.
Resentment. Maybe you don't want to because you have some feels, some
Because of the
will,
history.
ill will.
Fear of being
Oh, yeah.
far away from them.
Outgrown their values.
So nothing, either you don't have much in common. You say fear of being away, so you're saying basically on the contrary, it's like attachment. Shrek? Still
I
there.
think he's gone. His headset was rumbling.
Oh yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So that's a complex palette that we got there, right? you can see that sort of a push and pull with family, right? And isn't it how it is? I think I was somebody who was very, very close from my own family to my own family. I'm still pretty close to them, but things happen in life that made me create an international family in the end. I ended up with a family in Ecuador and a family in Canada with very, very different values and ways of doing things. And I ended up sort of living far from the both of them as well, and so developing our own family culture. And I could definitely feel some of that push and pull. my family life when I was young was terrible, terrible. Name it happened. I often say that as a joke, but it did. And but through thick and thin, I think that difficulties actually brought us, uh, created a stronger nucleus in our case. Like we could yell at one another, even fight physically with one another, but a day after, everything would be forgiven and we would still be walking together. So this resentment that Rico was describing, in fact, was not allowed in my family. If somebody tried to isolate and go and lock their door, uh, that door would be removed. It would be blown, and you would be taken out by force of your room and made to reconnect. It was not acceptable in my family, no matter what happened. They could have hit you, shot you, yelled at you, doesn't matter. You don't hate a family member. So for me, I was taught by force to sort of love my family unconditionally. And then family values were sort of pushed very hard into me, like this is the right way and everything else is wrong, which was completely foolish. Especially that I had a family that didn't have a lot of necessarily diverse experience. Nobody had traveled too much or gotten out of their neighborhood. And but I loved them very much. Could see all the sacrifices. It was tough, so I could see all the sacrifices that they were doing, and I could see that they were not equipped to make good decisions, and that's why they always ended up in trouble. But at the same time, never found out how I could help them do better. So I just showed up. I would just be there to help them, recover the broken glass after all is gone, or be there to rejoice with them as well, trying not to judge their approach to life. So that's one thing that I have learned. Well, these are many things I think I have named there that I have learned from my own family. Some good, some bad, but definitely, loving people unconditionally, and knowing that you can survive so many things, like uh, there were jail in my family, and so if you can survive jail time, if you can survive physical beatings, if you can survive big conflicts and everything, uh, and still be like kind of playing cards with them the next Saturday. There's it teaches you about how far you can stretch yourself in a way in a relationship with people. That's been very useful for me all my life, to try and help others, because they need to do a lot to get to me, quite frankly. I am sort of this rubber band now. And then, I discovered my wife's family, who in a third world country, they were very sophisticated people, academics, and holding high positions and producing a lot and coming to life from the standpoint of philosophy, despising competition and violence and a lot of things that I had been used to. So it was culture shock. And I would pick up fights with them in the beginning. And then I learned to love them unconditionally as well. Okay? I guess my message is, don't let that distance install between you and your loved ones, if you can manage it. If it's gonna kill you, it's making you miserable and you don't have the tools to deal with it, then do the third thing that we did as a family and go live like 3 hours away from them. 3 hours away from them means you will still see them, but you won't be in their back pocket. You will need a good reason to get together, and you will have good conversation when that happens. So for family, I think the best way to honor our loved ones is to try to find that spot where we can interact with them harmoniously without causing each other pain. But
Straightforward.
without, yes, because you know that if you were to ignore them completely or they were to ignore you completely, that also causes pain. So it's sort of in the dosage that the key lies, I would say, that in the family. And also something that helped me, that it took Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism to make me understand that, is that you have yesterday's family and tomorrow's family. Yesterday's family's job is to raise you and educate you and feed you food and teach you all kinds of good habits. But tomorrow's family is your responsibility to make harmonious and teach all of those things. And as you grow older, more of your attention should naturally go to future family and less to yesterday's family. Until maybe they grow older and they need you, then you should be there as well. So for your family, you should be there early life and end of life. And for the family that you are building, you should be there all the time until you're given a break by the kids leaving home. They were detailing that in today's lecture, actually, the education and the wedding and this and that. Yeah, there are some things we should do as parents, but we should also not interfere and allow others to have happiness. Do you have a particular struggle in your family that you would like to share, or you need some light on that we can discuss? Yep, Trek.
I have a weird situation with that where my parents had me very, very, very old. And, I started trying to create that next family and then kind of fell through and kind of trying to rebuild that now. And they're really not doing well. They're much older. They're in financial straits. They're depressed. They're, especially my dad, his health is failing. And now it's like, well, it's difficult because I don't want to, I feel like I can't leave them in any way. I mean, even to go a little bit out, it feels like abandoning them. And it's difficult. And also, I get emotional support from them as well. So
Okay,
it's
I
this
just want
weird
to give
thing
you
where
a
it's-
hug.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I'm trying to build my own future, and yet I'm kind of faced with I have to pay my dad's debts, and in order for him to not lose the house, which would also hurt both me and my sister. So I've saved up all this money, and like I want to start building a house or something, and it's like I have to kind of take care of them, and it's tricky balancing that alongside with knowing that I've been kind of sheltered and afraid to go out myself, so I want to face that fear in a way, but at the same time, by doing that, it seems selfish.
Yeah, I
Oh,
get
you're a
where
great guy.
Yeah,
I believe in
to
you.
address. I mean, you need a lot of courage to be just dealing with that notion, internally.
It's
Quite
just like
something.
the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and
Yep. I know the feeling.
I just try to keep going into the emotion, like you've said.
Yep.
I do try to do that. I try to go into it as deeply as I can.
I think you need more hugs.
Oh, thank
Hugs.
you. Appreciate
We
it.
just love hugging people. We don't mind.
You also have one
Oh,
hug,
thank you.
but I don't have arms.
That's okay.
That's think you said something, Julia, because I heard you from afar, but you were mute. I didn't hear.
I was proposing a group hug.
Why not? Let's do that. There you go.
Group hug! Group hug!
Oh, thank you guys.
Awesome.
I'm hearing a nya. That's hilarious.
Just put on your comfort zone.
Love this.
Oh, you guys are the best. Thank you.
When my son was in kindergarten, all the kids would when somebody was crying or had some trouble, they would just cry, all of them, and just together, and they would do a group hug, and it was beautiful.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute.
So, you see, this is this is a very complex situation first, and second, I do believe that this is a situation where indeed surrender is required, because this is your situation, and resisting it would just make you more miserable, wouldn't it? Because you have no power over the health of your father, you have no real power over the death situation that was pre-existing. But you do have power over yourself. And that's the thing that Buddhists will tell you, you know, I may be thrown in jail, but you cannot imprison my mind. You cannot imprison my heart. So that's within your control. The situation right now is beyond it, but not how you deal with it. And thank you for sharing. That's already, I'd say, a step in the right direction to unload a little bit of the burden there and share it with us. I appreciate it. But second, you know, you probably need something like a me day, and that wouldn't be selfish. It would be just hygiene. Make a list of the things that you like to do, and maybe some of the things that you think you need to do. But don't make it all about obligations, because you have plenty of them. So, you know, you might decide that Friday is yours or Saturday is yours, but pick a day somewhere. Make it your space to do what you want. And that's going to be the day where you are a little bit more in control as well. Allow yourself that space to breathe. Not to...
Yeah, it's not even the tasks that are hard. You know, going to work is easy. Giving money is easy. Giving advice, helping him, lift something. These are easy things. The funny thing is, the really hard part is the thinking about the future, thinking about them either dying or being away from them. So it's weird. It's like a both selfless and selfish thing, because it's like I feel I need them too, in a way that I shouldn't. And then
right,
doing any kind of duties
let
where...
me point out something right now. Right now they're alive. Don't kill them yet. Not even in your mind. Right? Cherish every moment right now that you get to spend. Now you know that they were lent to you, right? Now you know that they have these problems and that everything, even people, are impermanent, right? You get an acute sensation of that. So make sure you make the best out of it. This time that you spend in the future won't change anything to the outcome. It just makes you miserable. So be there, enjoy the moment, use your mindfulness, try to catch you when you are projecting in the future right now, and bring your mind back to the present, and try and replace that to a smile at them.
Yeah. I can see it's the
I
wanting, not the responsibility. The wanting is what's painful. The clinging, of course.
so another thing is that you don't want people dying with regrets, and you don't want to regret things that you have done or haven't done when they pass. So here's my suggestion to you. Try and see if they have anything unresolved. Try and see if they have anything undone, if they want to talk to somebody, if they want to reconnect with someone. Instead of telling you step out of it, I will tell you become a light-hearted servant. If that makes any sort of sense. Help them accomplish whatever they need to accomplish before they can't do it by themselves anymore. And that way, if you combine that with cherishing every moment, you will get quality time with them, and they may be around, for twice as long than you think. People are resilient, and but whatever, no matter how long they will be there or not be here, you will know that you have done what was necessary, that you have cared for their needs. If they want to listen to music that you don't like, do it, right? Embrace completely who they are and the way that they want to live for now. And I think you're going to be somewhat happy you did that later on.
Yeah,
But do it
so
with
complicated.
a mean
Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm making it more complicated by making those recommendations, but
No, it's already there's so many layers to it. It's
Right. All right. So, but anyway, if you need to talk about that again, or if you need a breather, just let us know. I'm sure you can depend on your
Thank you so
assignment for
much.
that. So that was, I guess, family. What time is it now? We still have time. Yeah, it's a bit late. I think we're gonna just close with work and leave the more complex relationships for another time. Anybody has a struggle at work right now, or a recurring event at work?
I have something to share also.
Oh yes,
In my case, I have a job as an engineer working for a big company, making like cool stuff on the paper, if you want to. But I'm over and over feeling more and more demotivated by what I'm doing, and sometimes I just ask myself like, what I'm doing in this place, like. Is this even like a good way? Because we are finite beings, or time is limited, and sometimes I say to myself like, I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow or today going back to home. Am I using well my time? Because sometimes the problem is well, there are many problems, but one of the things that makes me frustrated the most is that sometimes I feel like my personal efforts do not make are lost within the general globalized chaos of what's happening, and they do not do anything for the purpose of improving the situation for everybody. So basically, you feel like things are chaos and you cannot do anything, and that's something that's a little bit difficult to me to accept. And sometimes the worst thing happens to me is that I find myself going to Facebook on my smartphone or stuff like that, and I say, dude, I don't want to spend my time on Facebook. Like, yeah, it's a fun app and whatever, but I don't want to be avoiding my current situation using this sort of what's the name in English? muletillas. It's this sort of support, provisionary support to invade and
Crutches.
to crouches. Thank you. This crouch to leave my situation. Leave. I won't. Not really leave, but just pass by. That's my thing. That's one of my things. So yeah.
What was there a question in there?
I'm sorry. I just ranted. I just ranted. I guess is there any healthy way to make a change for my situation?
Sure. What you describe is a pretty common experience for me working with big organization. I used to say you get into there and you're one more piece of cattle in the livestock. They put a tag with a number on your ear and welcome to the farm, in number 336, and that's the consideration that you will get for the rest of your employment there. That's how I feel personally about big companies. So, one thing might be working for a smaller company because obviously you get to wear more hats, you get to have more influence on things, you're closer to the action, and so on. Unfortunately, there are other challenges with a small company, meaning that they might be more disorganized, less good at communication, you might have to work longer hours, you might be stuck with people you don't like, or much less sophisticated than in a larger corporation that tends to have a lot of people that are highly educated. So you see, there's nothing perfect, really. So what can you do? You can make the change. You can decide that it doesn't really matter what you do for a living because it doesn't define you, really. And then you can stay at the same job and decide to have fun with it. Or you can leave it and do something else that you would like to try. The thing is that we tend to consider our career as those big monolithic pieces of our lives that cannot change. And our parents used to tell us, like, pick a career and work at it for 25 or 50 years because that was their experience of the industrial era. But first of all, that's just not possible anymore. And second, it doesn't really matter if you have a job that for 25 years, if you don't even like it. As far as I'm concerned, it's quite dumb, actually, to be doing something that you don't like for that amount of time.
Exactly.
We were having a discussion not long ago about parents' expectation and how, again, just to come back with an example from Ecuador, I remember having 400 doctors who could not find a job in Ecuador. They had been graduating, and it was the same with lawyers and judges and all the liberal professions. Why? Because everybody who was working on the countryside and didn't learn to read and write was kicking and beating and yelling at their kids so that they became judges and lawyers and doctors and engineers. And so everybody went and studied that to the point that the market got saturated. But let's say that they landed the job. Let's say the guy studied to be an engineer like you, Rico, but he studied it because of social pressure and so on. Now, is it really his choice to be an engineer? Which is, I realized me growing older, I should have been an engineer because I'm a creative person. I like to cause problems to myself and solve them. I like, when putting stuff that doesn't go together. I like a complicated life in general. And I think that's my brain would be perfect for engineering, right? But
yeah, you're a pretty good engineer. Yeah. I'm also an engineer, so works pretty fucking well.
All right. Yes. So unfortunately, that's not what I. Well, I've done some of it sort of naturally, but it was not like my official title and order or anything. But I would have been probably happy in an engineer job, and a lot of people that are engineers right now are just because of status and because of the pay and because their families wanted them to. Well, that's a recipe for disaster, right? That's what we were talking about, actually. That if you've been beaten into a path for 25 years and now you think you're done, right? Because you finally have that high-paying job in that wonderful organization. Well, you might realize that you're in fact at the beginning of the path and that you forgot to find yourself first. And that's in professional coaching of leaders. This is something I often start with. Okay, you're doing this now, but who are you? What are your qualities, your flaws? And you know, Rico, we've had discussions along those lines. And do you think that your current job is a good fit to your personality?
I mean, I'm good at what I'm doing, and it's fun. It used to be fun, but it's becoming more and more chaotic, and the people, the old guys that are taking the decisions are less and less grounded on what's really happening, and they just want to do things their way and just give the results quickly. I know I'm getting a little bit out of the question, but is that, yeah, I feel like this could be a good place for me. I think I could do good stuff, but it's just that the ecosystem is evolving, is changing, and it's no longer suiting me as much as it used to do.
Yeah, so one thing that happens naturally, I feel, is that when you don't belong to the ecosystem anymore, it sort of ejects you, either forcefully or naturally. Now, if you don't want to make the decision, you know, if you don't belong there anymore, life will happen and the ecosystem will eject you anymore. So one way that you could practice with this is to decide that you're not going to be calling the shot. You're going to be to try and sit there
I'm gonna leave now.
while it evolves.
I'm really sorry.
All right, Chad.
I think I'm tired.
Take care.
Take care.
Take care.
Hugs for all of you. Gonna
Thank you
go
for
with your
showing up,
friend,
Eric.
then go to sleep.
Alright. Sorry, I got distracted. So yeah, I mean, work is always challenging sooner or later. I call that the honeymoon. You know, you get into a place. First year, it's very exciting. It's very nice. It's just like any relationship, right? And so you're amazed by the colleagues that you have and how intelligent and dynamic they are, and the brochures look good, and you know, but you're basically an ignorant. You're just being exposed to the image and the marketing of this place, and then with time you start to see the flaws and the defects and the things that are unoptimized, and it can last a year, can last 2 years, rarely lasts up to 3 years, the honeymoon period, and then you start thinking, what the heck am I doing here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a second souffle. You know, you can reach out and find more energy there, just by staying there. Yes, second breath. If you would just let the ecosystem do what it does, and try and change your angle on things. For example, you know, you think there should be a layer of approval there, and they're not doing it, and they cannot see that, you know, the good way of doing things would be to have a layer of approval in this process. It might become a frustration, but that's something you're doing to yourself, isn't it? Everybody else is quite peaceful and blissful with the layer of approval not being there. And so that sort of recognition that you have started to make yourself miserable. You're sitting on the exact same chair that made you happy a few months ago, right? Now your mind is making you miserable. So what happened to your mind? My advice for you would be to look into that. What happened to your mind from honeymoon to now?
I think I start to feel tired of the same problems happening over and over. Because the first time I solved them, but the second time they appear, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, and people was not changing. That's something I just felt tired of that.
Yes. So you think it should change, and that you should not be solving that problem over and over again, right?
Exactly.
Why?
Oh. Because we are supposed to be improving with each step, and actually I'm realizing that I don't want to speak badly
Why?
about my colleagues.
No, but
Oh.
why are we supposed to improve with each step?
Well, basically it's our job. We're paid for installing. I'm going to use an analogy because I cannot talk about my job, but we're installing a kitchen and we're making sure that the kitchen bakes good cake. And it's okay if we screw up a couple of cakes here and there, but we should be doing better after the third, the fourth, and we're not learning. We're not doing what we should be doing. Is that an answer?
What are you learning though?
Yes, I am.
And others are not learning.
I feel that they are resistant to the changes that accepting learning will imply, and they don't want to acknowledge what's happening.
But you see there that you have put yourself in an area where you have very little control, you know? You learning and trying things and being a conscious engineer is within the realm of your control, but how others will learn becomes a little bit more difficult, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we do that a lot. I think one of the most distressing feeling in human life is the feeling of powerlessness and the feeling of lack of control. We are control freaks by nature. We want things to go our way and we want things to evolve the way we want them. And when that power is removed from us, it's... are you making some popcorn, Casper?
It's popcorn worthy.
I hope you have enough for everybody.
So Casper provided the world of wisdom. It's actually that meme that you see on social.
No, it's not muted.
Yeah, it's muted. I can't hear you. Yeah, you're muted.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes, you are. We can
Yeah,
absolutely
we hear
not
you.
hear you.
Terrifying.
Just show your popcorn, Casper. We'll be fine. Which is basically my advice to Rico. You know that meme that you see on social media, where when people are about to pick a fight on a feed, and somebody puts the meme with the guy just eating popcorn, watching the show. Try that for a while, Rico. Disengage a little bit from those things that you cannot control, and then maybe get creative. You know, I know that you are very good at making things that are complex simple, and so maybe you will find a way to teach them in a way that they truly learn. Maybe in that. You know, change management in organizations, if you've never gotten into that, can be a field that is very interesting. So you might pick up a book about change management also and see why your colleagues resist and understand how this process goes. If you're curious about it, you could turn a problem into an opportunity there.
Just put dirt on the internet on them.
That helps.
That will that will be a way of venting my emotions, but maybe that will not help me with a solution.
Maybe they
Actually,
can't
I have
work
to go
there
to
actually,
because
therapy
there
now,
are
but I'll
dirt
see you later,
on them.
guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
See ya, take care.
Oh.
Yeah, we should probably get to meditation if everybody's leaving now. It's a long session. But yeah, Rico, I think you will find something interesting if you start studying that. Just because I did, read a lot about this, and it's a lot of psychology, and it will not only help you understand these people, but you will understand yourself better of it as well. And
Change management?
yes,
Hmm.
I can send you some resources of that.
Yeah, sure.
But basically, people don't change their habits generally because they don't see a reason for change. It would be a big discussion, but I'll send you some things that are like steps of change management and how to do it efficiently. And I know from experience that even 18 months after implementing a change and people participating in the change every day for 18 months, it can still there's still like a 40% chance that it will revert back to the old habit. So it's very, very difficult to transform organizations because basically what you have to do is many individual psychotherapies, and only when they're all completed can you hope that the whole body will have transformed its culture. So you can see it as something a source of frustration, or you can see it as a very complex engineering problem that you need to figure out. And I guess that's what I did in the past. That's how I approached this. Really, when I became too frustrated with how organizations were ran, is when I decided to become a consultant and help others prevent that from happening. So, all right, let's do our meditation. We can talk about that again, Rico, on another channel if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Let's take a deep breath, and as always, this next 10 minutes is going to be silent. Well, thank you all. Yeah, so thank you all for showing up today. Hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next Monday. Julia's gone. We're running late.
Can I share a comment?
Yeah,
from Buddha?
sure. So please. Yes.
For a holy life, like-minded people are needed for that. So it's really nice to see that there's like Buddhist people over here, like practicing Buddhism and spirituality.
Oh, wonderful. Nice to have your result. Thank you for showing
Just
up.
joined. I had no clue
Yeah.
that this all exists over here. So like, how often do you have these like meditation practices over here?
So I am in the Eastern time zone every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
We do this. If you're in Europe, that's probably the only one that really fits with your schedule, but there are others here at night.
Okay.
7 p.m. in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm friends.
between 7 and 9. All right,
We
so
can talk him
I
through,
don't-
so.
Yes, sure. So usually Julia does the dedication, and we all rise for that at the end. I don't have the precise text that we are saying, but let's just have a moment to think about how by reducing the drama in our own life, we are reducing the drama in the world as a whole. How by bringing more joy into our life, we are bringing more joy into the world. And let's just aspire and hope that all that good work will benefit others, ourselves, and the planet. Right. By the way, there's a name in Buddhism as well, Casper. It's actually it's from the yogic tradition. You would say Swaha.
Swaha.
So you will find that after mantras oftentimes. All right. Okay, then let's disband. Have a great week, y'all, and we'll meet
Yeah,
again
have a
next
nice
Monday.
lunch.
Take care.
Till next Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.